Hey everyone, welcome to a very special presentation of Cinema Crusaders, brought to you on the Crusaders YouTube family channels on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, etc. I am very happy to be here to talk about a film from a very exciting writer, director, producer, and actor, Jason Trost. But before we get to that, I need to introduce my co-host for this podcast, none other than Jeff Baracey. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. Always a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to talking about this film and talking about this gentleman in particular. He's been making films on his own dime for quite a while, and I love that whole indie process, so I'm very excited to talk to him.
Absolutely. So before I bring him on, just a quick introduction. Jason, like I said, is a writer, a director, producer. He's also an actor as well. He's probably best known for his FP series, Fraser Park, and we're on FP4 Evas this time. But he's done my gosh, it is early and I haven't had enough coffee yet. He has done a number of other films as well, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But before we do, I want to bring on the man himself, none other than Jason Trost. Did I say that right? I'm sorry.
Yeah. You said it right. Usually, people will go, I've had so many different pronunciations, whether it's Frost or Toast or.
I just wasn't sure if it's going to be Trost or Trost. Yeah.
Well, yeah, technically you're right because, the German way to pronounce it is Trost, but when I got Americanized, it went Trost, so all good.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to get into this film. I know that you sent us some material, though, so with your permission, before we do that, we have a little behind the scenes of your latest film that's upcoming, which is part 4 of the FP series. So do you mind if we throw that up real quick?
Oh, please, fire away. My pleasure.
All right, let's do it. Here it is. For all of you out there, it's a little behind the scenes of FP for Evs.
For Evs.
Oops, let's get that.
Started out great. We had this amazing crowdfunding campaign where we made a silly 4-part workout video set in the FP universe to help raise funds for the film. Welcome to Duck Fit, baby. All right, here we go, everybody. F-Peeps, who we called Silver Screen Muggers, came out from all over the country who donated to the campaign to help be in the film and bring this to life. And we're like, great, this is awesome. Let's go make our silly sci-fi, adventure film. And then COVID hit about 1 week into production, and we were left with one big question, which was, how do we finish a big, silly sci-fi adventure film in a living room painted green with 4 people? At this point, we were in pre-production and everything was going great. Our producer and all-around art department genius wizard, Michael Lee, informed us that he was about to tear down his house and build a new one in its place. At which point he offered to let us use the house in the backyard for whatever we needed on the film, and thus we turned the property into our official FP backlot. We had sets and workshops, building props in the backyard, sets in the garage, and of course, a big empty living room. I knew the scope of these movies were going to be bigger than anything I'd ever made before, and I wanted to use some green screen throughout the movie to help accomplish this. So we went to the hardware store and got about, 20 gallons of green house paint and just started going to work on our producer's living room, and before we knew it, we had a 360 green screen. But, shortly into production, when the pandemic hit, we decided, well, we already have this green living room, so why don't we just quarantine together with our 4-person crew and just make the entire rest of this film in the living room. We got to the point where we finished shooting the movie, which is usually a big relief, but I had one really big problem. I had an entire movie with no backgrounds. At first I thought I'd just build some miniatures and use some trick photography and a lot of smoke, and that would be that, and everything would work out fine. But, as I got into it and started experimenting and learning how far I could push things in post-production, I decided to take my miniature work to the next level and integrate it with photo and video plates to make everything feel, in my opinion, more real. So I'd go out during the pandemic with just me, my wife, and we'd hike around to these really cool landscapes in the middle of nowhere, and we'd take pictures, and then I'd bring them back home to the apartment and start building our world in the computer. I'd start with a picture or video plate I took out in the field, and then go through the library of pictures from various vacations and whatnot that I've had over the years, and I'd crop out whatever set pieces or props or anything that was interesting I thought went along with the movie. I'd add the miniatures that we built into the backgrounds of the shots, and then slowly I'd make my way to the foreground. And then once I was happy with kind of the skeleton of the frame, I'd start adding weather and lighting and smoke effects and whatever I could to bring the picture to life, to make it some sort of living Photoshop. I continued to use this method throughout the film, cataloging pictures I'd taken, experimenting with lighting and blending and effects techniques. And basically, this movie never once touched After Effects or any other VFX program. I did the entire movie, everything you see, inside of Final Cut Pro X, sometimes having upwards of 100 video layers, creating this video Photoshop effect and bringing the pictures to life. I'm super happy and proud of what we achieved in this movie, because I feel like with the situation we're presented and this process that I developed along the way, it's given this movie a truly unique look, and with a feel that mixes old school and new school VFX technology into something completely doable for anyone, with a computer and a can-do attitude. Yeah, so TLDR, that's why we went ahead and made a big, silly sci-fi adventure film with 3 or 4 people during COVID in living room painted green.
Outstanding. Outstanding. That's amazing. That's amazing that you didn't use, so basically what you're saying is that all of that is composited and put together and done. I use DaVinci Resolve, but something similar. Yeah. And instead of using CGI and everything, that's pretty incredible. So
yeah, I don't know how to do CGI or like 3D anything, but I know how to take pictures and use Photoshop essentially. So I just it's a very complicated version of that.
Hey, that's the indie spirit though, right? You take what you got and add to your knowledge and do what you can and put out a product that is fun and has your vision. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
You're locked down for an entire, pandemic, and you just figure out how to do something like that because you have nothing but time.
Yeah. So my first question for you. So I'll be honest, I was trying to figure out how to say this, but there's no other way to just say it. I wasn't familiar with the FP series until, this came across my desk, and so I watched FP for Evs and then, started doing some research on everything. How did you come up with this world? Is this something that you always wanted to do? Did you have it in your background? I mean, because this seems like something that would be great for like a comic book or something. I mean, that's what Jeff and I do. We do comic books. So.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I love comic books too, and I love video games and all that. So it's definitely kind of a blur of that and just my sensibilities of like everything I love from the 80s and the 90s kind of thrown into a blender and just, because it started out like I was making like a thing that basically, made fun of my hometown that I grew up in when I was, I guess I wrote the first one when I was like 18. So that was, ages ago. And here we are 15 years later, whatever it is at this point, more than that even. And,
Is that Fraser Park? Is that your home?
That is indeed Fraser Park, which is only an hour north of LA, and everyone's like, "Where is this dystopian like white trash wasteland?" It's only an hour drive.
I recognize. I live an hour east of LA, so okay. I recognize the 2 Bakersfield sign there in one of the shots. So
absolutely, because that's been on the 5. Basically, we're the top of the grapevine is Fraser Park.
Okay. I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, that's set in. I mean, it comes back in FP4, but in FP3, Grapevine's a big set piece. I got a kick out of that. I don't know if anyone else will, but that was pretty important to me. I just started making these, and I don't know. The first one became, popular and infamous, and I tried to get all these other things funded and going, and the Venn diagram of what people want to watch, and what they want to fund me doing, honestly, and what's really fun for me to do. It always just came back to the FP. And what I love about the FP universe is I've kind of been trying to create my own genre with it. So when you do that, there are no rules. Each one just has to kind of be more ridiculous than the last one. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I can do that. That's easy to conceptualize for me. So they're always just fun. Like, I don't know, everyone, I like it being a different genre. So they're almost anthology films in a way to where, they kind of follow a similar storyline. But if you didn't like this one, you might actually love the next one because it'll be a completely different movie, just the same character on a crazy different adventure, different tone, different everything.
So I have one more question, and then I'll kick it over to Jeff for him to ask a couple questions. Why Dance Dance Revolution and everything? I was watching that. I was like, wow, this is like crazy. It's like their whole technology is based on that, and it's weird and funny and fun all at the same time. So
yeah, we have to go all the way back to the conception, the idea when I was like a teenager, and I'm watching a lot of Rocky, I'm watching a lot of 8 Mile, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Okay.
God, it'd be so stupid if you just mix this silly game with like really tough, like the gangster. Because everyone in my high school up there, they're all thugs, just a bunch of white guys. Like, yeah, we're hard, and they're watching their Bad Boys movies and this and that. And I'm like, God, you guys really are, in my opinion, are a bunch of sissies playing Dance Dance. And I'm like, let's. And then of course over the years it just evolved and went crazier and crazier. And I'm like, I can't just make movies forever about just playing the game with your feet. So there's so many other rhythm games out there now that would it's endless now. The amount of especially with VR and all that stuff. Like there's so many rhythm games now. So it's great for me because I have just infinite material to pull from. But yeah, that's where it started. Just making fun of kids in my high school. Like I thought the way to kind of demoralize or sissify them, if you will.
Is that why we? Is that where we get all of the future dystopian valley speak with the yo and okay. Okay, because I was having flashbacks there for a while. I was like, oh,
yeah, anyone in that generation that knows of that early 2000s kind of thug white mentality guy, this movie is trapped there. The apocalypse would have had to have happened in 2001 or something. We're just trapped there forever.
Yeah,
people throwing out more bitches than Jesse from Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah,
I grew up. I went to high school in the 80s, east of LA. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I was
where did you go to high school?
Colton High School out near Riverside. So
oh yeah, Riverside. Yeah, of course.
That's where I live now. I live in Riverside.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Jeff, do you have any questions? Or I'm sure we all both have questions.
I've got a lot of stuff to ask and say and do because I have been a filmmaker, not on your scale. But there's a couple of years I spent making short films, and I came to appreciate a lot of the techniques that you were using, particularly in this one. There's some people out there film. Hey, all right, Big C.
Oh, Big C.
Yeah,
man.
Let's DDR. There you go.
He makes his own DDR patterns that are in the FP universe, with the beat DDR patterns. He's awesome.
And look at this. 15 in 2002. Now you're making me feel old, man.
No, dude, no. I've already got the white beard, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, but I might have been a similar age. I'm not sure.
Hey, it's okay.
It's like an FP speed. He's like, I'm mad aged, yo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You got those waist miles on you. You're 25.
Yeah, the waist miles. And that's one of the things I love about the world you built. It's such a love letter to the 80s and the 90s. And like I said, having watched studied on the craft of how people used video post-production, digital effects, and I was really blown away to find out you did all this in Final Cut as opposed to using After Effects. And it makes me think of a YouTuber in particular used by Blue Worm, who does a lot of practical things, but also some digital extension of sets. And so I can see these blended techniques here. And so I was really impressed by miniature building. Love that part of the backstory and seeing how it came to play. And the genius of using styrofoam pieces for bizarre architecture because they come in funky shapes and there's a little love and paint on them.
Mm-hmm. And that just all came from us, walking our dog in the pandemic and lockdown, because when you lock down with a dog, you're allowed to walk the 5 kilometers from the house for X amount of time. And, people just obviously buying TVs and PlayStations or whatever during the pandemic, and there was always giant, weird styrofoam piece out on the streets, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take one of these and see. And once I did, I was like, this is awesome. So I started. There was one point where we have a storeroom, and my wife was like, you got to get rid of some of this shit, because it was I had an entire warehouse basically full of styrofoam pieces.
I would be lying to say if my wife doesn't tell me the same thing, except I'm not doing it for something as noble as a movie. I'm usually doing it to play Warhammer or something like that. So
there's nothing wrong with that. That's as noble as it gets.
Lots of miniature building, but it's such a brilliant thing, because Lucasfilm, they kind of developed the idea of taking pieces from plastic kits and texturizing things. You look at Ridley Scott's Alien, and the corridors of the Nostromo are the backs of TVs glued onto the wall. And so I love that guerrilla process of just finding whatever works and putting it in the setting and going with it.
I agree. That was definitely my motivation for doing this, for all this kind of making ofs when I was a kid. And also, I grew up in my dad's special effects. I was always on set doing that when I was a kid, and I did some when I got older too. But I think the movie's lost a lot for when you stop doing that, because there's just like a tactile, like you can tell it's real.
Yeah.
Even if something looks janky, you can tell it's real. Like I don't know, for me, I just always respect that more and get in the world. So when it feels like it's kind of AI generated by a computer, I kind of tap out.
Yeah, I totally get that, because like this is no disparagement of what you and your guys accomplished, given the limitations that you had. But I thought it was a very smart decision, like for most of the shots where you're walking, because you're just walking in place against your green screen.
Mm-hmm.
You shot that, you post that into the scene at a distance, so it didn't look so weird. So I appreciated what you were working around, trying to achieve the best effect you could get. Because for me, this is the most glorious love letter to that period I've seen since Kung Fury came out, if you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. That's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
So looking back, obviously you had to adapt. You had to adapt, improvise, and overcome to borrow from Gunny Highway there.
Oh my God, my dad used to use that saying every day. We have to back that t-shirt, like it's the Marines. Like I know what you're talking about. Trust me.
So looking back, you had to do that because of COVID. If you had to do it all over again and COVID didn't happen, we could all hope. Would you still go with this look the way it is? Or
I probably would have done that, but I never would have had the courage to go this far. So in that respect, I'm kind of glad COVID happened, because it made me develop this whole new process that anyone, whoever you are, you could make a movie in your living room. If you have enough time and focus, which luckily I have now after the pandemic. Like I don't know if I ever would have committed to something so hard. And like I'm kind of glad for my creative process that it did happen.
Yeah.
I would have chickened out, because it does, like you're saying, take a lot of courage to be like, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I find that really interesting, because I haven't had the pleasure of seeing the previous films, but now I want to devour them all. And I've been aware of like some of your other franchises, like All Heroes Must Die, which is really fun. But the scale that you have in the previous films, like where everything's kind of happening in camera and you're just kind of making things happen, but here because of the situation you're in, you create a much grander scale, because you do have to think outside of the box.
Yeah, and I think this is a lot of times when I'm writing a movie, this is the scope that's in my head, and then slowly you start budgeting down. You're like, no, can't do it, and it ends up being like a movie in a room with a few people. But so it was actually really cool. I got to expand the scope so much because of what we were like presented with. And I was like, well, I'm in Australia. I've got these amazing backgrounds. Let's start putting some of this to work. And I have a question for you. If this is the first one you watched, how did you understand it? Because I'm so curious when they're like, we're just going to release this one as its own thing and see if people get it. Will they?
What was very helpful is you did have a very nice prologue at the beginning to fill people in. And I don't know precisely how I would have taken it, but I did research you. I just trolled all through your YouTube, like watching everything I could, and that gave me a lot of context. And by the way, I just love the little duck promos, like donate now, bitch. Like, all the little things you were doing there, like because you built such a fun world. I'll say that, like it's a world I'm really invested in. I love the mythology that you've created. I love the fact that knowing a little bit about your previous films from their trailers, I can see the evolution of the character. And, you give him an existential crisis. So I think just as somebody I think just as somebody who's a cinemaphile, I didn't have that much trouble following along.
Yeah.
And it's so enjoyable. I think even if I was kind of lost, I'd be watching this film like, I got to go check out these other films, because this is a really interesting place he's created.
Did you adhere to the 3-drink minimum? That's the main
yes. Yes. I love how you start the film with a 3-drink.
That's what I was going to say. I really just rolled with it. I was kind of like, I watched this late at night while I had been after writing all day. And so I did adhere to the 3-drink minimum, because I need 3 drinks after writing all day. But I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm in for now, but they warned me right at the beginning with your disclaimer. That kind of put me right in the mood.
I was very firm with wanting the disclaimer, and they've been there since the second movie, because the first movie, people, I don't think they really got. A lot of people oddly didn't get that it was a joke. And it's my way of like kind of telling people to like, just kindly pull the stick out of your ass and have fun. These movies are all about having fun.
Unbunch the panties.
Leave the filmmaker notepad, the film blogger notepad at the door. You're sitting down and having fun. You're going to a different world. This isn't an A24 movie. Sit down and have fun.
Now, again, it's like it's like seeing Kung Fury. Like, it's obviously this love letter to the 80s, but it goes from being like 80s over the top to just ridiculous, like, laser raptors and, Thor comes down from the sky. So like, if you can get into that mindset of like, this is a film where anything and everything possibly is going to happen, you are going to have a great time watching it.
Yeah. I did go back and watch the trailers for the earlier FP movies, and the first one, I got a real Mad Max vibe off of it, and so seeing that, and now seeing what you had to do because of COVID here, is there going to be an FP5, and B, are you going to take, what you've learned here along with your aesthetic from earlier ones and kind of mash that together, because you've added to your skill set, obviously, from FP4.
No, I think there will definitely be an FP5 at some point, because it's going to be hard to keep me away from it. I'm trying to force myself to not make it next, because I've been basically doing this for like 10 years now, and I'd like to take a break and do something different for a minute, and then probably go do something crazy creative on that end and then pop right back. But 5 is definitely in the cards for me. And I would definitely employ this technology and try to double it up, because every time I make a movie, I try to do something I haven't done before and keep pushing what I can do on my own.
Very good.
Not sure if there's a ceiling yet, but there's got to be a ceiling someday, perhaps. Haven't found it yet.
I don't think so. It's like, it's kind of the spirit of the indie, and I really got to respect that a lot. I noticed that you crowdfunded for Indiegogo on that. I know, which is difficult to do, but you got your crowdfunding done and everything. And I think that's what indies are all about. And I got to salute you for that, because
thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, the only reason these movies happen is because we've built this really strong community, which I call the F Peeps. And they love, we have FP Fest. We have those every year where they all come together and we show the movies, and they have a lot of fun competitions and like FP, like cosplay. And it's really fun.
Well, speaking of cosplay,
like this on StreamYard. That's when I saw you guys doing StreamYard. I'm like, oh, great. I know how to use this.
I'm gonna pull up a few stills and we can look at these real quick. So this is well, hold on, let me add us all in here.
Oh yeah, that's actually behind the scenes shot back there in the bottom right. That's Michael Lee. He just learned how to do the air mortar for the explosions. My dad came down to the special effects, like, yeah, do it like this. I'm tired. I'm going home. Which is just like a 10-minute, 1 minute walk up a hill. What am I even talking about?
Oh, so he didn't do the air mortar for Battle Bitches?
No, that was me.
Okay.
See, I love this because this look is so cool, because it's kind of like like I said, it's a combination of Mad Max, pirates, and then just some crazy game stuff thrown on top of it, and it's just so cool. Let's see what we got here. So this is was it Jason or
KCDC?
Yeah. So he plays the hype man and the MC and everything in the movie, correct?
Yeah, the mystical hype man.
Yeah, he's pretty great. As it looked like everybody has fun on these movies. So
it's a
cool. If you're not having fun, go home. Like they're all friends. Everyone's having fun. I've whittled it down so much at this point to it's like I only want friends who are there having fun. Like I've done enough of the corporate stuff. Like I hate it. I just like having fun with my creative buddies, and we all just get together and make the weirdest, most fun movie we can.
Yeah, I noticed in some of your earlier projects, you had the same core cast members working with you frequently on those. Those tight teams can really make or break a project.
100%.
Is this in the backyard that you were talking about before? Is this a shot
there?
Oh,
yeah, my dad's got this up in the FP. My dad's got this whole 30-acre plot of land that landlocks thousands of acres of national forest, and there's just junk and effects equipment all over the place. And that's why they kind of started being post-apocalypse, because I'm like, well, my dad's got all this post-apocalypse looking junk all over the property. Let's write something for this.
So it sounds like was your dad into filmmaking as well?
Oh yeah, my dad, he's he's been a special effects man since Jaws 2.
Oh wow, outstanding.
Oh, wow. He's been doing it for 40 years or whatever, more.
So it's in your blood. So.
Oh yeah, and my grandpa was a first AD, and my grandma was a stunt woman. It's been going on for
real dynasty.
Great.
And you are a legacy.
Yeah, something like that.
Look at this. This is a great pick. This is for anybody who wants to cosplay FP. I think this is a great cosplay right here. You could do.
Oh yeah, Chai Tea.
Yeah, very cool.
I love the ground and pound move there.
Although I had to laugh when I had to go back and re-listen the first time I heard the name, because I personally like chai tea. You know, don't judge me for that. So I was like, wait a minute, is one of my drinks talking to me or something? So
well, there's so many great little pieces of world building in the names, the set design. You know, your guy Lee is really amazing with his art direction, his post production, or his pre production, I should say. And I couldn't help because like some of your castmates are Australian. You know, you've got this blend, this really interesting blend of like, you know, 80s slang, but also I'm hearing Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome when they end up in the Never Never, you know, like that crazy fun blend.
It's kind of just become my life at this point because I have that and that because Tallay, who is Chai Tea, is my wife, and she brings all the Australian friends in, which any of the actors have been brought in because they were friends of Tallay and other friends of mine. And so it's been really funny. That is just my life, is the blend of Australia meets 80s, 90s.
But I think the language that you guys developed actually gives the world a grounding, and it gives it its own flavor and its own character that's unlike anything I've seen before.
Absolutely.
So it all just works.
Now I have questions about this look. So, but first, if you could just talk about how this costume came about, because I think it's pretty cool. And then the movable mouth is really cool and everything as well. So.
Well, yeah, because and then if you go back to the first one, you'll start getting the duck mythology of how important the ducks are throughout the community. And so obviously when a duck villain shows up, if you've been following the series this long, everyone's like, oh shit. But we can't talk about who's under the duck, obviously. But this kind of, I think the form of this started with, I was like, okay, we're gonna do like hip hop Kylo Ren and see what happens.
That's great.
Oh, I love it.
To be.
Yeah. Now, I being from Southern California myself, I'm an LA Kings fan, so I saw this. I immediately went to the Mighty Ducks Anaheim. I was like, oh no, that is a villain for sure, right there. Am I reading anything into that? You know, too much?
You'd have to talk to Michael Lee. I'll let him. I believe there may have been some borrowing or something in the structure of the mask, but I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay.
This was immediately eye catching, and I was like, I can see the appeal. Like, it has that 80s, but it also has like that kind of Fortnite thing that I'm sure like a lot of the younger people would get into, because this world it's like a post-apocalyptic San Andreas. It's got all that wackiness going on.
I want these to kind of feel like you're inside of a video game. It's kind of the vibe with
Saints Row. I'm sorry, Saints Row.
But it's like I'm kind of making these like an adaptation of a 90s video game that never happened.
I also really liked, I think there was one sequence that you did in the film where it looks like almost like a Lord of the Rings map around Fraser Park there on.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Duckland was out there near the
Duck Islands.
The Duck Islands.
Just past the wet shit.
The actual.
He's got the map. Yes.
If we want to just like here, I can put this up here and you can ask me.
Let's see.
This is the original.
Let's bring you up. There we go.
That's great.
Wow, look at that. So that's like out there. What is it? Like the actual Channel Islands out there in SoCal? Is that?
Yeah, this is all based off SoCal. That's probably like Catalina and those things.
Yeah.
I mean, the proportions are not correct, but yeah, you can see a lot of it. Like there's Bako up there, obviously. And
for Bakersfield,
we're getting into like all that weird stuff that we never go to up there, like Ventura and Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
and the 138 obviously out there going out towards Lancaster.
Yeah, being from Southern California, I was really laughing. I was digging that.
Awesome.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, somebody gets those. We put a lot of time and effort into those jokes that you never hear about.
Now, for those of us who haven't had the opportunity to see the other FP films, how can we get our hands on those to be able to watch those? So.
Well, you can. I have a link on my Twitter, which is a link tree that goes to a place where you can get them all from me, like digitally, and you can get hard copies that I have on there.
Fantastic.
And
there's Jason's Twitter handle right there.
Perfect.
So.
You go there, go on my profile. There's a link to how you can watch all of them. Or if you watch any of the trailers on YouTube and go into the info or description, you can find it all there as well.
Okay.
And or follow me on Twitter and ask me. I'm very available.
Cool. Yeah, because it would be fun to watch those and see them back to back. Because like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I would love to go back and like learn about the duck mythology and everything, because I was kind of like, there were a few things that I'm sure that if I watched the earlier movies, I would pick up more of. So,
well, especially with 3 and 4, because 3 and 4 were kind of built to go together. In my mind, they were kind of like an Infinity War, like Endgame situation.
The wet shit. Is that just water? Because I felt like, they like the plan strategy, like, oh no alcohol, like we're all stone cold sober.
That's just water, because everyone's kind of evolved to drinking alcohol in this weird world. Of course, water, they're allergic to it, and it turns them stone cold sober.
I thought that was such a clever aspect of the world. I really enjoyed that. That tickled me to no end.
That's what it's about. Just with each one of these movies, I try, like, I don't try to make them funnier each time. I try to just make them better and make the concept sillier and more ridiculous, because I think if you try to make a really good movie on top of a really, objectively stupid concept, but just do it for real, I think that's where the humor comes from. That's what I used to love about B movies, is they have like a really wacky concept, but they try as hard as they can to make it serious, and that's what makes it fun and funny.
You know who you remind me of saying that? You remind me of Sam Raimi working on the Evil Dead series. How it went from a legitimate horror movie just to getting wackier and wackier and wackier as he went along. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It all works.
Now that
a compliment.
That begs the question, when you're playing your character and your lines are all delivered in utter seriousness. I mean, your character is absolutely dead serious about everything that they're doing. When you're saying some of this stuff, is it hard for you to stay in character and just not burst out laughing? Or is there a whole B reel, a blooper reel of outtakes?
Sometimes, you get the giggles and it happens. But like, I don't know, oddly, because, and making films, you probably know this, is that you're kind of so tired and there's so much going on, you kind of forget what humor is. So it's kind of great in those moments when you are trying to play someone serious and downtrodden. You're like, man, I'm so tired. I just got to get this line out. Let's get going. So but there are some times where things definitely, come out of left field and hit you. It's generally not what I'm saying. It's generally what someone else says to me. Like whenever I get on there with like the actress who plays my daughter, Lib, or if I get on there with, Sean Wayland when he's yelling at me in the background, or people like that, it can get a bit touch and go.
And what a great fan base you've got, the Silver Screen Muggers and the F peeps who came out to help you complete these projects. And I love seeing behind the scenes of you interacting with these guys and like all the fun you guys were having on the set creating this world.
We've been doing that since FP2, so a lot of them are return visitors essentially, but like they've just become friends of mine. We're all friends on Facebook. We talk about stuff and comment on each other's things. Like when these movies play at film festivals or anything, if it's like near where some of them live, they'll come out and we'll hang out and have drinks. And it's this really fun kind of, it's almost like a extended family reunion when you make one of these. Everyone's just coming back together, and there's some new people. I'm like, oh hey, you're so and so. I'm like, great, awesome.
That's great.
I was definitely getting that vibe, especially when you're telling the cast and crew, like, look, I'm doing 80 different things. If I don't talk to you, like, but after we wrap, we'll go out and we'll have a drink and we'll chat and have a good time. So like
the way we do the day twos are always hard. Like, so we do those shoots on the weekend with them, and like day one, everyone's fine. Day two, it's everyone's like, I'm not hungover, you're hungover.
Just working into the character. We're all drinking alcohol anyway.
Yeah, we'll rebalance or two on set.
So what are your plans for you? Not within the FP universe, but coming up. So you obviously we're talking about doing some other stuff. So what do you have on the horizon?
Right now, I mean, we'll see if it comes to fruition, because you always say I'm going to make this, but then you get on the road of like actually trying to make it and funding and all those things. So who knows? But my plan at this point is I really want to make a side-scrolling survival horror movie. We'll see if I can pull that off or not. So
I love that already.
Yeah,
so interesting.
So that's kind of my vibe, because I want to do something. I want to take what I've done with this, because I was doing some cool side-scrolling stuff in this, and I've always wanted to make a side-scrolling movie, and I think it'd be really cool. I think I have a really cool concept, so I'm writing that right now and trying to figure out the logistics of how to do it. Hopefully, it works. But that's my this year's plan.
When you say side-scrolling, are you talking like in the tradition of the old side-scrolling video games?
Like a Castlevania.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. But if you play a lot of like newer side-scrolling games, there can be some that are like pretty story-oriented and almost like walking simulators, where it's a really cool story, but it's almost like a continual shot that keeps evolving.
Like I don't know if you played this game, but like Limbo or
Limbo's great. That's definitely a reference piece for me, and the other one, Inside.
Yep. That's
because like if you were to do this world, I imagine it running around like Final Fight. if it was being the FP as a
Well,
side
and
scroller.
I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't doing that as a test for some sequences I want to do in Inevitable FP5,
Nice.
which would be much more like Metal Slug and F-Zero and stuff like that. But that's, you know, much more complicated. So I'll start small and then build my way to that.
Yeah, gotta crawl before you walk. But that's really exciting to hear. Like, because I love that, you know, as an independent filmmaker, you are continuing to pursue these outside of the box ideas and push the envelope, as all creatives should. You know, we should try and constantly improve ourselves and like, oh, you know,
100%.
this
Like,
idea.
if we don't do it, who's going to? Because
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm getting very bored with movies these days, because it's not that there aren't good movies coming out. They're just so buried down by like basically AI generated scripts and movies at this point.
Right.
And you just like, I get sick of watching the same thing. I'm like, why haven't we tried to do anything like different visually in ages? Like I feel like we're stuck in this period of like just seeing the same exact movie. It's like, okay, put the superhero filter on it. Or even like now indie movies, like, all right, put the A24 filter on it. And you're just like, can we try to actually do something different? And like,
yeah, like the Snyder filter on everything.
Yeah, and nobody wants to fund different, because you can't prove in the equation of funding it that makes money. So you kind of have to do it on your own.
Absolutely.
It's a shame. Like, I was working at a theater when Ex Machina came out, and it was in and out like that. And I was very grateful. I was very grateful I got to see it in a theater as opposed to, like, you know, my home system. But it's sad that movies like that are, you know, getting passed by for the next big, you know, FX, you know, craziness.
But in the 80s and 90s, that movie would have been huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a shame, because I grew up on all these movies they wanted to make, and by the time I got to the place where I could make them, they weren't popular anymore. And so I'm like, well, now what the hell do I do? I said, do it myself.
Now, where can everybody find this movie? I know that it's releasing next week, correct?
Yes, it's releasing on the 23rd,
and
it's going to be all over digital, like digital and VOD. I think it'll be like iTunes, Amazon, I think Tubi, Vudu, yada yada. Basically, if you have a digital service, it should be showing up there. And then it's my understanding that Q3 or Q4 this year there'll be a physical release. And there has been a rumor that I'm trying to, you know, I don't know if it's me trying to push to them or them going to make it happen, but I want a 4 FP like box set.
Yeah,
So
see,
Nice.
I was just going to ask about that, because that would be great. I would love, because I'm one of those weirdos that still likes to buy things on physical media and have it, you know, so.
Oh my, especially weird things that like I may never get a chance to have again. There's certain things I want to own. Like, I don't need to own like the Marvel movies. You can find those anywhere.
Yeah.
But like weird, obscure things, I love owning them, because they're, you know, essentially like pieces of art that are obscure. And it's kind of like, you ever seen that movie? They're like, what? And you're like, you pull it off the shelf and it's got its cool artwork.
Plus, you never know what's going to disappear off the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
now it's terrifying. People can just delete movies forever.
Yeah.
It's just done.
or even worse, like, since all the films are shot on digital and they're sent digitally into the theaters, they can be edited up till the time of release or even after. If you look at examples like Cats, and we see that other streaming services have altered their product, and I don't want that. That's why I still collect digital. I still collect physical media. You know, one of my favorite films, Death Machine, in America, the release is, you know, the old 4:3 scale, but it was a movie. I want it in a movie, but I can only get it in German, so that's a real drag.
It's so hard. Like, there's so many things like that, and you're just like, yeah. The streaming world's a bit scary, but physical media is awesome. I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, once again, I just have to give you credit, you know, because you're out there, you're creating as an independent creator. You know, we've stepped into that world a little ourselves, and it's like you said, it is scary, you know, and absolutely,
that's right.
That's a mission statement.
You know, and you've done this, and so, you know, my hat's off to you. I mean, and you've got a devout followers, and it's just going to continue to grow. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So
I'm a new fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for chatting. Thanks for watching. Like, what else can I ask for?
So before we go, you know, is there anything that else that you'd like to plug, or where people can find you? Let people know. You know, I'll throw those links up for your Facebook and everything. So
yeah, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those. Like, I'm there. I'm very available. If you ever want to chat and you have any questions, fire me a message. I'll get back to you within a day probably. I'm pretty available. I'm writing right now, so I'm always looking for an excuse to procrastinate. So
understand that. All right. So all of you out there, if you're not already an FP fan, go check out FP Forevs. It is debuting next week on any number of streaming services. You can find it. I will put up the links again. Look for Jason on Facebook, Twitter.
And even if you're gonna buy, you're holding out for a physical media, which I know a lot of you are. Watch it anyway, because that's going to motivate them to get it out quicker.
Absolutely.
Understood.
You know, the only way, unfortunately, it is a real fact of life. The only way that, independent creators like Jason can be successful is for you to go out there and support them, and that way they get more funds, more support, more, wind at their back to be able to make more stuff that you're going to love. So
let me plug it this way. If you're tired of boring ass movies, if you're tired of the same old CG crap, get out here and support these independent filmmakers like J-Tro.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you got to get out there, Jason. It is, and support people like Jason. It's so important. Thank you so much, Jason, for sharing this with us, though.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Absolutely. So, So before we go, one more time, let me throw these up here. This is Jason's information. There's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can find them on Instagram. Look for FP4Evs on any number of streaming services. And for now, I want to thank Jason so much. I want to thank Jeff on behalf of myself, Comic Crusaders, and Cinema Crusaders. We're out of here, everybody. Thanks.
All right. See you. Thanks a lot.